it is officially pumpkin everything season, so we're gonna celebrate it by doing a pumpkin floral design today. Growing up, a family tradition for us was to hit all the hot and happening pumpkin patches. So when I became a flower farmer, I knew I just had to have my own little pumpkin patch just to have a little fun with. So today we are going to be using this guy as our design vessel. Pretty fun. Along with that, we have some of our greeneries, scented geraniums, along with some eucalyptus. It's my favorite smell combination in the world are those two greens mixed together. We also have some raspberries, which are really fun this time of year because they tend to get a little red and golden as the color intensifies as the weather cools. So those are always a fun component. And my new obsession is actually artichoke greens. So I like it because they're a little bit more bold than Dusty Miller, where Dusty Miller is a very pale, almost too matchy-matchy with this pumpkin today. But I like that this one has a little bit more green and yellow mixed in with it. So that is our greenery we're gonna be playing with today. And then we had stashed away a handful of our last dahlias of the season before the frost came out. So we have some fun little dahlias to do. I went with a more of a peachy white and kind of blush pink tone today to kind of go with that fun gray blue. So just kind of like when you're picking out your vessel for design work, even with a pumpkin, you kind of want to think shape, height, and color scheme. We also have some of our fun little mums that we're going to be using today. And I saved some of our little coxcomb. I actually like it when there's the little branches for design work. I have this thing with smaller ingredients where you just get the subtle hints rather than a huge statement. Unlike in a bouquet with design work, I like to have the more delicate details. We have some dried millet and some dried bunny tails, which is always fun to add a little bit of texture and whimsy to it. A handful of Lysianthus that I stashed from the cooler, and we just need to use them. They're too pretty to let go. And then a handful of sunflowers. I really like the Pro White Night. So it's the one that has the dark center in it, and it's just kind of a more creamy white rather than a stark white. So that's always a really fun when you're going for a more lighter color scheme. Okay, but first we need to tackle our vessel. So we're gonna have to go ahead and cut into this pumpkin. Now, if you want to have a longer lasting arrangement, you can definitely cut the stem off and you can glue on kind of like a loamy design dish of some form, or if you use floral foam, you could do it that way. But I really like it when I get kind of into the pumpkin. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna cut into this pumpkin. We're gonna save those pumpkin seeds because they're so delicious this time of year. And I have a little dish that we're gonna go ahead and put that in there. I will say this guy's a little shallow for my taste, but this pumpkin's pretty shallow. So we're just gonna go with today's arrangement would be more of something that I would recommend for an event rather than to have it as someone taking it home looking for it to last for a week. Okay, so first I'm gonna get the stem out. And then I'm going to go ahead and get it so that the container can fit. But I want to make sure I don't do too big of a hole that I won't be able to get make it too big for the container. So just going to go ahead and get that guy started. And it seems cheesy, but the pumpkin little knives are actually the best tool to use to at least do the initial cut. It just saws it in really nicely and it's a lot easier to work with. So I'm just going through and trying to loosen this up a little bit. The saw knife is great to get those initial cuts, but now we need to do a little bit of leverage. Kind of see where it's starting to get looser. Kind of like opening a pickle jar. I had to bring in some reinforcements for that because look how thick that flesh is in there. It was not letting go of it. So normally I would say you could keep the stem and all that good stuff if you wanted to go ahead and add it to, some people kind of pin it onto the outside as part of the arrangement. Yeah, that wasn't happening today with this guy. So. Okay, so now I'm going to take my container, and what I want to do is I just kind of any marker or pencil, I'm just going to do a quick little guideline. I am not cool and awesome enough to do this freehand. I'm kind of a wreck. So we're just going to do a quick little line. So I have my guide. And then I'm going to take my stronger little knife, just a paring knife. You could also use a floral knife. No, I'm not going to. I'm going to use the saw. This is a okay, this variety is a very meaty pumpkin. So this is why we don't have our own show like Martha Stewart. We prefer to show you all our hiccups. So we're gonna have some happy chickens. That's all I can say. That was quite a little bit of an intense pumpkin. So definitely be aware on certain varieties what you could potentially be involved in. So now what I'm doing is I'm gonna go ahead and finish scooping out as much of the flesh. Since I'm mainly doing a demonstration today, I'm not gonna worry about it too much. But I would say if you are looking to sell this to an end customer, you're gonna wanna make sure to get all the little stringy fibers out and get it as cleaned up and as level out on the bottom as you can. That way it's just gonna help prevent those little bits from rotting quicker. Also what I do is I actually dunk the entire pumpkin in a diluted bleach solution, and I let that sit in there for about 10-15 minutes. Pull it out, let it air dry a little bit. And I've also heard you could use silica gel packets to kind of help with those absorptions if you're looking to make the pumpkins last a little longer. With just the bleach solution, we had feedback from a customer that her pumpkin lasted over 2 weeks. I would not say that is a typical time for it to last. I would say 5 to 7 days. But if they keep it in a cool place and take really good care of it, I guess it could last a little longer. So. Like I said, today I am not worried about getting it all out because I want to get to the fun part of this where it's going to be actually putting together arrangements. It's always good to kind of keep a little towel with you because it's a little messy. Okay, now we need to prep the container that's going to go and get set into this pumpkin. So for us, we are a floral foam free florist, so we don't like to use floral foam, but you can absolutely throw a loamy dish in there with some floral foam and call it a day. But today we're going to use this little guy. Like I said, this is a container that's a little bit shallow for my taste. You can use a vase or a jar. Upcycle the containers. You can get these deli containers pretty affordable, and you can get them at a taller size to fit better. So first I want to put my chicken wire frog in there to kind of hold the stems. Then I'm going to take my Oasis waterproof floral tape, and I'm going to make just a grid. So what it's going to do is the bottom part of the chicken wire, is going to hold the bottom of the stems, and then this grid's going to kind of hold that together a little bit nicer. Plus it'll give another little leverage point. So when you're putting your stems in, it'll kind of hold it a little better of your preference. I'm not going to go crazy. This is a pretty small container. So we're just going to do a little bit of a grid. And what I do when I do my grids is I always wrap the tape around it as well, which I'll show you. You can kind of see where the ends, they're just not really wanting to stick, but that's because we were kind of poking it in the pumpkin. So you want to make sure your container is dry and clean, so it doesn't come up like this is doing. So I'm just going around, and since this container is going to be hiding in the pumpkin, I really am not too worried that it looks ugly. Okay. Just stick that in there. And like I said, when you're doing your pumpkin arrangement, you're going to want to make sure to have that as level, so it's not going to be wonky, as possible, and you're going to want to have it better cleaned out. But I just want to show you how to put it together today, so I'm not too worried since I'm going to be the one hanging out with this pumpkin. Okay. Okay, and then I just added water. You can add floral food. You can do all that fun stuff. If you're going to do silica gel packets, I would just tuck them in before your container. Okay, so now we're going to get to the fun part. I'm going to use my bigger leafy greens first. So I'm going to use that artichoke and the scented geraniums. Let's just see kind of how it has that similar kind of jade, beautiful green on here. And anytime I am designing, I like to stick the stems sideways. It just makes it look a little more natural rather than up and down. I think with pumpkin arrangements, it's really easy to just kind of shove everything in there and have it stand up straight. You don't have to do it that way though. You can definitely do it like any other kind of compote wide-mouthed arrangement type design and just have fun with it. That's the most important thing, is to enjoy the process. Because if you're not enjoying these little processes, then what are you doing it for, right? Okay. I'm gonna use some artichoke green. And the big thing is, with greenery is and any element really, I just like to layer the different colors, the different textures. It's really going to make everything pop a little bit more when it's layered. Give it a little more interest, a little more depth. So now that I kind of have it greened out a little bit, I want to start kind of picking how I want to do my design. So I'm thinking I just kind of want to go nice and long out, imagining it would be kind of like in a centerpiece of a longer table. And I just kind of want to give it a little bit more of a trailed out feeling, which this raspberry is really wonderful to kind of do that. I also have some sweet peas tucked over that also do a really nice job with it, but I like to add those kind of little airy elements later. Now, when you're doing a centerpiece style design, you also want to think about having two faces. If you're doing one that's going to be up against the wall, you can just focus on one face. I always find it's kind of like how one side of your head always has a great hair day and the other one not so much. I kind of find that with my designs as well, but I like to give a little bit of something to one of the sides. So, but I always end up with a favorite. So when I do it on one side, if I'm doing a centerpiece, I kind of want to copy and paste a little bit on the other side. It won't be exact because each flower has its own sense of character, but I want to have it kind of similar. So now I want to go ahead and look for some things that can kind of help to hold up my dahlias a little bit better. Challenge of working with a shallow type container is it makes it a little more difficult to get things to hold. That's when other stems, there we go, they're friends. They hold each other up. Isn't that wonderful? Now I feel like I have a lot of the fun pinks and apricots, so now I kind of want to start bringing in and lightening it up a little bit with some whites. And I have these Dublini Lizzie-anthus and I love them. Now they tend to kind of do a nice little cluster, but I don't want it to be super clustery, so we're going to go ahead and rip some of that out. Now I feel like I can start adding some of my spike / airy components. I feel like I've done enough of our bigger guys. I might add some Lizzies kind of trailing out at the ends, but I'll decide that in a minute. I want to add a little bit of some of my more airy components, and I just happen to have some German chamomile. I love German chamomile. It's one of those plants that self-sows prolifically, and I'm always pretty thankful for it. In early spring, it really saves me as far as filler where there's not a lot blooming in that cold time. And this was all volunteer out in the field for fall, so it survived our first frost, which is pretty nice. And it's just a cheerful flower and it smells slightly of honey, which I really enjoy. And the tea, homegrown chamomile tea, is the best. Trying to use the chamomile's bright yellow to kind of bring in some of the yellows we have going on here. Just a little subtleties. When you're picking your designs, you want to definitely think, what can I bring it together, bring all the different components together color-wise. Those are considered bridge colors. So how this little guy is pink with some yellow, and then I have the apricot tones here, that's kind of our bridge guy. And then as you add a little bit more stuff, you can make the colors pop out a little more, which is really fun to play around with. love the bunny tails for this. They're just so soft, and they hold together really well. They last forever, and they're just cute. Our cats also love them, and they love to just steal them and run away with them. So usually what I do with bunny tails, because they're such a small element, I like to cluster them together. And I just poke them in their arrangement together. It just makes it easier than trying to do one by one. So I just kind of hold them a little bit in my fingers the way I want them to sit in the arrangement together. Just makes it easier to add them in there without fussing too much. Adding my final few little touches. Add a little bit more color. Add on the outer skirts of the arrangement to help tie it together. Here is the pumpkin arrangement. I feel like it's just a little bit more of a modern take on the pumpkin arrangement with the color palette. Have fun picking the pumpkins, even if they're super fleshy like this one was. Don't be intimidated by it. Just take your time, go slow, and have fun with the experience. I personally, when I went out, I knew I wanted to use this pumpkin today, and so I chose the colors to work with the pumpkin, but you can always choose your color palette to go with the pumpkin as well. Orange is always fun for a more traditional fall. This one, like I said, I just love all the peaches and blue-ish tones, so that is how I wanted to say goodbye fall with this last arrangement for the 2021 season. I hope that you found this video helpful and inspiring, and it's continuing to help you boost your confidence and design skill with all your beautiful blooms. Don't be afraid, just have fun with it. It is just a relaxing, enjoyable experience. I know I personally love to play classical music while I'm doing it. It's just really fun. Pro tip, 4 seasons, always a great choice. And until next time, we are looking forward to helping you hand bloom soon.